Hey there guys, welcome back to ARTFX Studios and you're watching bass design number 11. And in this bass design video I'm going to show you a little trick that I found out in Ableton sampler, but it will also work in every other sampler that is available. So the little trick I'm going to show you today is something within sampler, and I found out about it accidentally when I was watching a tutorial video by Evoke about using sampler to create interesting bass sounds. And I was using some of the stuff that he did, and I sort of like turned a knob that he didn't, and something happened. And I was like, whoa, what the fuck was that? So yeah, I'm gonna show you today what I did. It's not like really Neuro hop kind of thing, it's more like a breakbeat beat, I guess. It's pretty cool. I created this little beat. Really syncopated kind of rhythm, and the main beat itself is just this. So that's the main beat. I layered a snare with this. Some kind of a Foley sound. Took from a really long recording and just did some effects on it. It's really simple. It's not that difficult. I mean, when you hear just the main drum elements, you can hear it doesn't really is that difficult. The main sort of like syncopated rhythm comes from these three loops. Now these three loops are coming from some Vengeance sample packs. I know, I'm lazy, but I wanted to show you this. It's three loops, and I can show you the individual loops. Some kind of an electro house thing. Another house kind of loop. And then I've got this one, which is probably also a house loop. As you can hear. I did do some things. They're set to the beats mode, and I brought down that transient. Now, this is, for instance, the full loop. So by bringing that down, I can sort of like make the hits a little bit more snappy, and I think that for this kind of beat it definitely works because I want to make something really syncopated. You can see this one is at 43, so it's even lower. Without that, we get much more volume out of it, so I can just bring this down. I don't need that much of it anyway. The hits need to be really short and snappy. I've done the same thing for this one. Brought it down to about 60. I could possibly do this. Let's see. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. So together with the rest of the drums, it sounds like a really syncopated kind of rhythm. So that's what I like. And now I'm gonna go into the thing that I want to talk about today. So I've got two little clips right here. They're really simple. I mean, I haven't really done too much to them. It's just about showing the actual trick. So I've got this one. See? Now with the drums, so it's all about that last part. That's what I want to show you. that kind of thing. Now I've got another one right here, which I've processed a little bit further. It's the same kind of pattern, it's just a different root key, and I took a different sample to create this with. And this one sounds a little bit more crunchy in the high frequencies, so combine that with the drums. Now, I really like that kind of thing. It definitely sounds good and it is very usable, but you need to understand how to create this and how to control it, because it's definitely gonna, well, require some fiddling around and trying to get things right, because you are gonna get a lot of volume spikes during this little thing. I mean, if I just look at this volume meter, it's going mad, you know, it's... And it's not really a problem, you know, I'm controlling this on the group track itself, where I'm actually using a glue compressor. So, I sort of like make this work now, but let's try and show you how I do this. I'm gonna create a new MIDI track. In this new MIDI track I'm gonna put a sampler. And the first thing I now want to do is I'm going to take my little clip that I've got right here, and I'm going to drop it right on that track. So now I've got a sampler track with the MIDI clip, but I don't have any sample in here yet. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go and see if I can find something interesting. Let's try that one. Before I actually throw this sample in here, I need to explain that the sample that you're gonna pick is the one that's going to define how your final sound is going to be. So if I'm going to take something like this, we won't really get that effect that I have in the other two examples. And that is because in both of these examples, and if I open them up, you can see what I mean. It's an audio clip that has a lot of different modulations in there. It has fast and slower modulations in one audio file. And because I have those capabilities, you know, because I have all those different parts in one audio file, I can actually use that and sort of like try to get a faster and a slower part in there on that last note. I mean, this is the audio clip that I've used in the second example, and this is, for instance, the audio clip of the other one. Now you can see that there's a really big difference between these two samples. I have this one, which sounds pretty cool, but I've also got... Sorry if that was a little bit loud, but... So you can use that to sort of like create totally different sounds. Believe me, it's gonna be really, really sick. Let's take out those two audio tracks, because I'm not gonna need them. And let's go to my sample thing right here. And I'm going to see if I can find some kind of a bass line that I really like and I think is going to sound good. I'm gonna use this one, so I'm gonna throw it in here. And I know this one is F minor, so I'm gonna set this to a F3. I'm gonna go in here because this one is actually lined up with a G minor. So I'm gonna make this a F minor. Now our sample should be playing in the exact same pitch as it was recorded in. And now what I want to do is I want to create some sort of a loop section within this sample that we're going to use to create the final sound. I'm going to press this little knob on the sustain mode, or let's take that one, which is going to mean that the sample is going to play all the way through this loop, and then it's going to go back the other way when it arrives at the last position. I can then specify the loop marker like that, make it longer or shorter, and I can link that. So now I can move this around. And the cool thing about this is now the actual loop start is actually the exact position where our sample is going to start playing. So if I set this to, let's do this, see how it sounds. Bring the volume down a little bit. Now, that doesn't really sound too interesting, right? So I'm gonna go and zoom in a little bit, make my loop a little bit smaller, and let's see some of these shorter parts. And you know, this might actually work. The next thing I want to do is actually the thing I got from Evoke. And he explained how he makes his bass sounds a little bit more percussive by adding a really fast pitch envelope. Now that's a really cool technique, and I already sort of like knew about the technique, but I hadn't used it for a little while. And I saw his video and he said, well, I thought, why not try it again? So we're gonna go to that pitch oscillator tab in the sampler, right here. And then I'm gonna go and enable the pitch envelope. And I'm gonna set the amount to something like 36 semitones. Now, when I do that, we're now gonna get this. And to be quite honest, that sounds a lot more interesting than this. Well, I mean, it does sound interesting as well without, but I think that sounds pretty cool. I'm not too happy with the first parts, however. That really fast pitch envelope just doesn't really sound that well. So what I can do is take the decay time down to something really short. So we get something like that. And then on the final part, that last note, I'm gonna bring it up to, well, quite a lot. It's about there. Let's see how this sounds. So that last part does sound pretty interesting, right? What I can now do is I can go in here and I can sort of like try to get some different stuff. So you can see how by using that, for instance, this little thing, it definitely makes it sound interesting. It makes it sound a little bit different, and that's pretty cool. Let's just copy that and paste it right there. So that sounds pretty cool. Now, I could, for instance, add another one right here. And maybe add some other automation on this one. Let's do it like that. So you can see how you can play around with that and really create some interesting stuff. Right now I'm only using one instance of this sampler, but I could totally change this up by sort of like duplicating this, shifting the sample around in the sampler itself, try to find a different spot, and sort of like cut out the parts that I want and cut out the parts that I don't want. And I can really sort of like create something interesting by doing that. Now, let's throw that note in there as well. Let's give it some more modulation. Let's duplicate this. And I'm going to take out some parts. Let's see. I'm going to take this all out. And I'm going to add one higher note right there. Let's use that note. Let's see if we can find something different. And let's add some stuff to this. It might be interesting to shift this a little bit to the right so we get that F note in there. And let's just make this really fast. Let's drop this one right here. And this is just all a matter of trial and error. I mean, this is a lot of work. And let's duplicate this again. Delete this. Let's create a nice MIDI clip right here. Let's add our F note in there. Let's do that as well. And let's see if we can find another cool position for this one. I like that. Let's make the pitch envelope a little bit longer. That might be interesting. Bring this down. And let's bring the decay time up right here. And I can try and see what it does when I set this to 24 instead of 36. Becomes a little bit less pronounced. If I set this to 48, it becomes more pronounced. I think 36 sounds pretty cool. I can also enable this oscillator thing, which is basically frequency modulation and amplitude modulation in one thing, and I can control those with a same envelope. So I can, for instance, do... Right now we don't have anything. I need to bring up the volume right here. You can hear what's going on. Let's make this shorter. It's gonna add a little bit more of that sort of like pitch envelope. Makes it a little bit more pronounced, a little bit more percussive as well. So I don't really like that last one. So I'm gonna take this one, I'm gonna duplicate this track. And I'm going to take this one out right here. And I'm gonna take everything else out from that one. So we now have that. I can bring this up. And let's try and find some other spot. Let's make this a little bit bigger so we can actually see what we're doing. Bring this down a little bit. And I can really sort of like do some stuff with this, I mean. That sounds pretty cool. Okay, I like that. So you can see how you can create a really interesting thing just out of one particular sample. And the cool thing about this is now, is when I play this by itself. We can really hear what's going on, and I can actually take out some of these stuff in the drum section and just work with the main, sort of like the main drums. And it just works. I mean, it definitely sounds good. I can add the glue compressor to this, turn on soft clipping, and let's see how far are we peaking. Oh, we're pretty low, so I can bring this down and then I can bring this up. Maybe add a little bit of compression. That sounds pretty cool. I can add an EQ before this. Add a little bit more sub maybe. Take out a little bit of those mids because they're really peaking a lot around those faster parts. And that is because the sample is playing a lot faster than normal, so the pitch of the sample is going to sound much higher as well. So that sounds pretty cool. I'm really happy with this. It definitely sounds interesting. Let's add this one here as well. Let's make this a little bit lower. And let's try and do some interesting stuff with these notes. Let's do that. And that's how you use this little trick. So that was it for the video. I hope you liked it. I hope you learned something. Now, if you've learned something or if you want to know some more, you can now come to my website. And on my website, there's now a new commenting system using the Discuss comment system. So that means that if you already have an account for Discuss, you don't have to re-register for my website anymore. You can just post with that account on every single article on my website. So that's really cool. And there's a lot more stuff coming up as well. I'm working on a new set of videos called Sound Design. They are actually going to replace the Sound Design Saturday videos because I don't want to be bound to uploading at just the Saturday. I want to make a sound design video when I feel like making a sound design video, and if that's on a Wednesday, it's going to be on a Wednesday, you know? So I'm going to do the same thing as I'm doing with this bass design videos, but then I'm going to do the same thing with the sound design videos. So I've already got 5 Sound Design Saturdays, which I'm going to rename to Sound Design 1 to 5. And later this week, or maybe in the beginning of next week, I'm going to upload Sound Design number 6, which is going to involve a really cool plugin that I've got, which is called Output Ref. Now, if you don't know it, look it up. It's a really cool new plugin. I definitely like it, and I'm going to show you the ins and outs of it. Yeah, that's it for today. If you like these videos, then subscribe to my channel. Come to my website, post a comment there. And on my website, you can find a forum for music producers where you can actually ask your questions. And I can try to respond to them with a solid answer. And yeah, it's just there for you to help. You know, it's if you have any problems, come to there and I'll try to help you. Definitely. Yeah, I hope you like it and I'll see you back soon. Peace.